Hello, everyone, and welcome to a virtual visit to the Galapagos with Alex Green. Alex Green is in her last semester as an environmental science major at Berkshire Community College and is an inspiring naturalist and conservation biologist. Her childhood surrounded by nature in Sandisfield, Massachusetts, instilled her with an inherent appreciation of all organisms. She grew up saving slugs and newts from the road and climbing to the very tops of hemlock trees. Up until last year, she would have said she wanted to be an ornithologist. Though her love of birds continues, she now wishes to study the smaller and less appreciated organisms of soil and leaf litter communities who are less likely to get the conservation efforts they require. Alex, welcome.
Thank you. I'll start sharing. Okay, so hello. So my trip to the Galapagos, I actually signed up for it in freshman year of high school, and it got postponed for a year and a half. We were supposed to go in my senior year, but it didn't happen until after I graduated. So we went at the very end of December and into the new year. So I'll just start with just the travel and how that worked. We flew out of Boston and we went from Boston to Miami and then down to Quito, the capital of Ecuador. So that total travel time was about, I think, 22 hours. So we didn't get there, like we started like at 3 in the morning or so, and we didn't get there till like 1 in the morning the next day. And it was like my first big trip anywhere, my first time on an airplane. So it was a whole lot of firsts for me. From Quito, we flew to San Cristobal Island, and then took a boat to Santa Cruz, then to Isabella, back to Santa Cruz, and then finally back to Quito. So I'll go chronologically. And this is just me sharing my experience of the trip and my photos and some of my thoughts and just appreciation for the places we went and all the things we saw. I'm not, I'm not an expert in any way of the natural history or the organisms or biodiversity. I'm just enthusiastic. So here's the landscape of Quito, and you can see all the volcanic ridges in the background. So the very first thing we did in Quito was we saw the Virgin Mary of Quito, which was this massive statue. I think it's like 135 feet tall or so, and it's right on like a sudden steep hill in like in the middle of town, and you can see her from like anywhere in the city. It was really neat. And there were a lot of dogs out, which of course I took pictures of because I love dogs, but I thought it was an interesting like cultural difference to experience. I don't know, I think we have very different perceptions and understandings of our pets and how we interact or treat them. So there were a lot of strays, or I don't know if they were actually strays. Our tour guide, Christian, he said that they all have owners, but they just hang out outside and with the other dogs, and then they go home at night. But I have no idea if that's true or if that's, a nice thing that he tells the tourists so that we don't feel as bad. But I thought I'd include them because they're very cute. These are some trash line orb weavers, which are a really interesting genus of spiders, and they have it's called a web decoration. It's of like leftovers from their feeding behaviors and their just other debris. And I found them, the first restaurant we went to in Quito, we were waiting for a little while out in the garden before we could, before our food was served. And, I was looking around, poking around and things and seeing the different interesting arthropods. And I found these and I was really excited because I'd never seen anything like that in the Berkshires. So on to San Cristobal Island. So this is the very easternmost island of the Galapagos, and is absolutely beautiful, this landscape. And this is where we met our tour guide for the Galapagos. His name is Beto, and he was native to San Cristobal. And we saw these are lava lizards. I couldn't tell you the exact species or subspecies, but I know that they're a key player in our studies of evolution on the Galapagos Islands because of the different subspecies and speciation, and you can see the different morphology of the different ones on various islands. And I think I have a few other pictures later on. So if you keep these ones in your mind and then compare them to the others, you can see some pretty significant differences. They're really cute. They're all over the place. They like scuttle around and they're on the paths and within the lava rocks. And there's also so the first day we had a little like a guided tour near one of the Darwin research stations before we went on a little snorkeling experience. So on our walk, there was, so much to see. It's our first day out on the islands, and I was totally just enraptured with these lichens because I'd never seen a lichen that was brilliant orange, right? Like I'm so used to the like green and blue shield lichens. So these were just like absolutely spectacular for me. And there's maybe a few too many pictures of lichens in my presentation, but that's okay. They need to be appreciated just as everything else. These are Galapagos flycatchers. One of the first birds that we got to see like really, really close up. It's really wonderful because of the conservation and the history of the Galapagos. There's not many large predators. So the animals they're just not socialized to be that frightened of humans. And we're not, any visitors or anyone on the islands, you're not supposed to interact with the animals or approach them or touch them or feed them. So if they approach you, you just kind of, back off and keep giving them the space that they need. So these were like, doing their thing. They were interacting with each other. They were catching a lot of insects, and it was happening like 3 feet in front of our faces. It's really, really cool. And this is the coastline of San Cristobal. So after our little walk, we walked back down, and the water here is actually where we were snorkeling. I wish I had an underwater camera, but I don't. So it was my first time snorkeling ever, and I was like really nervous, but it was very fun, and I wasn't afraid of drowning when I was actually out there. But the only problem was I don't have very good vision. I'm very, very nearsighted, so I missed a whole lot. I could see the colorful shapes of fish moving, but I couldn't really see them very well. But there was a few larger things in there that I could see very well, like the sea lions that were swimming with us. And there's also, I think there's 2 green sea turtles that were actually actively foraging, and they were only swimming like 5 or 6 feet away from us. And I could put my ears underwater and I could actually hear them chewing and like biting on the algae. Very cool. And here in the picture, just above that ridge line, you can see there's a bird out there, and that's a frigate bird. And so there are frigates, there were blue-footed boobies, there were brown pelicans out there, all sorts of seafaring birds. And occasionally the brown pelicans, they would fly in and they would dive while we were all snorkeling there. So you could actually see the pelican dive while you're underwater. Very, very cool. There's a slightly better picture of a frigate bird. I didn't see any of them sitting, so I didn't get to see like their big red display. Just saw them flying. So this is a massive male sea lion. It has a pretty funny story. While I was getting out of the water from snorkeling, so there was like steps that were cut into the lava rocks, and then a pretty steep path back up the side of the hill. And I was like like crouched on the rocks trying to get my flippers off, and all of a sudden this massive sea lion like bursts out of the water, and he's like 2 feet away from me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is scary. This is a massive animal. And he just kind of sat there for a little while, and everyone, you know, backed off and gave him space. And then he like lumbered all the way up the steps and all the way up the path. And then when we finally, you know, got situated and I finally got my flippers off, and we walked back up to get our things, he was just like absolutely exhausted, passed out in the middle, in the middle of the path. Here's a baby sea lion that we saw on our walk back to the hotel. Very, very sweet. On our second day on San Cristobal Island, we visited a tortoise like research center and a conservation effort. So they are enclosed, so they're not living entirely wild, but they are living naturally. But within their like enclosed range, like it's truly like a massive amount of land that they have to live their lives on, but it allows the researchers to like monitor them and study them, and all sorts of good conservation minded things. So this individual, the one with the portrait, I think it was said that she was around, like she's over 100 years old. And like all the other animals, they're like totally unbothered by us. They don't really have any reason to be bothered. So they would just kind of like, you know, lumber, walk in front of you. And you could actually hear them breathing, which was just like, I don't know, just probably one of the coolest experiences, just to be able to sit quietly and have a Galapagos tortoise just doing its thing and breathing. Really so cool. And they're very sweet since posing. And yeah, so like I said, there's conservation efforts, and all of the nests, active nests, are monitored, and then the babies are separately taken care of because there's not like a parental care displayed in the species. So the researchers take care of the babies, so they're kept in a different part of the sanctuary. So this little guy is, I think, 8 months old. So he was only, you know, they're only like this big. So cute. And then this other photo is, they call it the kindergarten for the tortoises that are a couple years old. So these guys are, you know, like a foot and a half long. So they have their own area for the different age groups to socialize them differently. So this is, these are some little sea pill woodlice. They're a terrestrial isopod, so they're a crustacean within arthropods. I think woodlice are really, really neat. I don't know a whole lot about them yet, but I do plan on learning a lot more. These I found within the adult tortoises range, and I was very excited that I found woodlice, because I had gotten into learning about them in my last semester. I just think they're really neat. So after that experience with the Galapagos tortoises, we went to a beach to go swimming, and this this sea lion, he was blocking the path and refused to move, even when Beto was like, you know, like clapping his hands and like, okay, come on, like let us pass. And he actually lunged and like growled at him, and it was, you know, kind of scary. And like, you can see how smug he is. Like he's proud of himself that he wasn't letting us do anything. So we had to like stumble around on all the uneven lava rocks and walk around him to get to the beach. And I asked Beto afterwards, I was like, how often do they actually attack people? Like that was really aggressive. And he was like, oh, you know, sometimes. And he showed me the scars that he has, the like puncture wounds that he has on his leg. And I was like, oh, ooh. So I was a lot more wary of the sea lions after seeing that, especially when we were swimming, because they would join us, like the younger, smaller ones would join us swimming, and they were only, you know, a couple feet away from us. And I think a few people even like they felt them move against them, and I was like, oh no, what if they bite me? But you know, they're just curious, and I was being paranoid. So this is what the beach looked like. Absolutely stunning. The water was like perfect temperature. It was nice and warm, and the color was fantastic. It was, you know, like turquoise. And yeah, sea lions absolutely everywhere. This one who's sitting up on a bench kept sneezing, and I thought it said bless you like a few too many times for me not to be embarrassed by it, because it sounded like a human person. It's funny. And then of course more lichens. I've just never seen lichens of that color, and there's so many of them all over the different lava rocks. And at this beach was where we got our first good looks at the blue-footed boobies, because before we saw them flying and like pretty far away, but these guys were, you know, like 10 feet away from us really. So really, really cool birds to see so close, like close enough to see their iris color even. And then we went to a second beach that all those black rocks are all lava rocks, because the islands are all volcanic, but really like really cool juxtaposition between like the bright sky and the really dark rocks. It was really, really beautiful. And here we saw our first good looks at marine iguanas, which I was really, really excited about, because I don't know, I don't see many, I don't get to see many reptiles, especially not ones that are like 3 feet long. Well, the males are, at least. The big males can be up to 3 feet. So this one was like taking a nap in the middle of the path. And then the other one, I'm pretty sure was yawning. But they do have a behavior where I don't know if it's considered sneezing or not, but they're expelling the salt out of their noses from their foraging behaviors, because they're marine iguanas, so they actually go swimming and they feed on like algae and corals, I think too. So they like sneeze, and you can see the like white salt being blown out of their nose. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So these are two really big male marine iguanas, and you can see their coloration. Really stunning. And I think here's a picture that you can see with a little bit more detail, but like a lot of them were pretty distinct in their different colorations. So other people went swimming again on this beach, but I instead slipped around on the rocks and tried to take pictures of crabs, which I wasn't super successful at. I'm pretty sure that this one here with the yellow speckles, it's a Sally Lightfoot crab. I don't know much about crabs. Another thing that I intend to learn more about. I'm not sure who this little one is. It could be a young one. Was only like, I don't know, like half an inch long. It's really, really tiny. This, okay. I was so excited. So this, at that beach, probably half the sand was made out of this, I thought was a shell at first, or maybe a coral. We weren't sure. I asked our tour guides, and they weren't super sure what they were either, but we all were like, they're probably coral, I guess. And it wasn't until after I got home, I posted a lot of pictures on iNaturalist, which is a citizen science platform, and it helps you identify different organisms. And so I posted this, and I was like, I think it's a coral maybe, and someone was like, nope, that's a sea urchin. So it's a pencil or a slate pencil sea urchin, something like that. So that's actually one of its spines. So like it has the body and then all of the spines off of it, and that's what the spines look like on those. I think it's a genus of sea urchins. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I've like never seen something like that. That's what the whole trip was. It was like, this is so cool. I've never seen something like that. But this is where I'm like kind of sad because I I do collect things, like interesting little things that I find, but it's super illegal to remove anything from the islands. You can't remove any sort of organic material. So I wasn't allowed to take anything. So I got pictures, but you know, not the same thing. And then here's more things that I would have taken if it wasn't illegal. So this is a sea lion vertebrae. I know it's a sea lion because they're the only thing there that's big enough to have a bone that big. Everything else is pretty small. And then this is some sort of insect exoskeleton, but I'm not certain which. It kind of looks like cicada-y, but it's really cool, but I don't have it. So we went to Santa Cruz Island, and the first time we were there, we were only there for the day. We didn't sleep there or anything. But the very first thing we did was we walked through a lava tunnel, which is really neat because I don't know, I don't think I had any like understanding a whole lot of the volcanic activity and like the different formations. I was never really into geology. I was always into biology and things that are, you know, alive and scurrying around. So it was, you know, a good experience for a different type of appreciation of the natural world for me. So it's really pretty neat to be able to walk underground. So the main thing that we did that day on Santa Cruz was we visited a private ranch that is that's to protect the Galapagos tortoises. So even though it's privately owned, there's still, you know, conservation efforts, but I don't think that they're as like research based, and I don't think that they had any like hatcheries or kindergartens for the younger ones. It was more just so that the adults could live their lives and be protected. Yeah, so that there's a ton of plant diversity that I was really excited about, which like I could have a whole nother presentation on. But this is a some sort of white-tipped sedge that I think are really, really pretty. But yeah. So this little bird here is a subspecies of the yellow warbler. So we have yellow warblers that come here in the Northeast. I'm sure many of you are familiar. They say sweet, 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 I'm so sweet. They're really, really cute little birds, but they look pretty different than what we're used to, right? So our male yellow warblers, they don't have that heavy streaking on their breasts, and they don't have that cap at all. So I believe that this is either a mangrove yellow warbler or a golden yellow warbler, but subspecies and speciation is like pretty complicated, and the field guides that I brought with me weren't very complete and not super helpful. Certainly didn't like go into the exacts of yellow warbler subspecies, and I borrowed Christian's field guide, but it was all in Spanish and I took French, but I worked through some of it, but there was a lot of conflicting information, so I have to look into that further. But he was foraging right next to one of the Galapagos tortoises, and he actually landed on the shell, but I didn't get my camera up in time, which is too bad, but I saw it happen. Yeah. And then at the docks of Santa Cruz, we saw our first sharks and my first ever stingrays. Really, really exciting. They're so cool. And I'm pretty sure this is a black-tipped shark. I don't know sharks either, so could be wrong. And then so all in the same day, we were on 3 different islands. It was a day of like doing things and then travel and doing things and travel. So we went to Isabella Island, which is the largest of the islands, and it's, I think, of the ones that is populated, it's one of the least populated ones. So only the southern end really has humans living on it. But there's been a lot of scientific research has taken place on Isabella. So one of our first days, we had free time in the morning, so I went to the beach and just to see what I could see, because there's a lot of shorebirds, and I was like Kelly said in the introduction, I was, and still am very interested in birds, but no longer intending to be an ornithologist. But you know, my life list grew quite a bit from the Galapagos trip, and I didn't have many shorebirds. So I'd say I was really excited to see the different things present on that island. And I think that this picture on the left really kind of encapsulates what the Galapagos is like. Here's 3 entirely different incredible species, all just kind of in association with each other. So you can see here is a marine iguana, a black-bellied plover, and a whimbrel. And they're all, you know, foraging together. It's really, really, really cool to see. And then here is, I think that's the same black-bellied plover, and then ruddy turnstones. There's a couple of them. But they're all in their winter plumage, because, you know, this is like December 31st or whatever. Yeah, more marine iguanas. And then here's a really massive male, and you can see the size difference between the male and the female here. And you can also see on these females, that like patch of white, that's all, it's all salt that's been like solidified on their heads. Really cool. And there's a lot of invertebrates, which I'm getting more and more excited about. So my friend actually found this, the blue button jellyfish. It's only like that big, only a couple inches in diameter, but I think it was like the first jellyfish I've ever seen, and it was, you know, the most beautiful thing in the world. And then another small crab, which again, I don't know my crabs yet, so I couldn't tell you what species that is, but gorgeous anyways. Here's a lava gull that was like guarding my flip-flops, and I was trying to get them without approaching the wildlife, and I don't know, he really didn't want to leave my flip-flops alone. He was like, no, these are mine now. And then this other bird here is a sanderling, which have a really neat foraging behavior. When the waves go out, they run towards it, and then they, you know, feed on whatever little invertebrates they find, and then the wave comes back in and they run away from it. So we got to stand there and watch it like run forward and then run back and then run forward. It's really, really cute. So our second day on Isabella, we went to Sierra Negra, which is one of the active volcanoes, and it's located like right in the middle of the southern half of Isabella. And these are some of the plants that were at the base. I think this picture on the right is like maybe one of my favorite pictures I took. I just think it's so beautiful, the different colors. And then here's a not so beautiful picture that I took. I didn't have the I didn't bring the larger lens with me because I was afraid of, I don't know, I didn't want to pack too many things, and I ended up having too much anyways. But I just had my little lens on the camera for close-up, so none of the distance shots are very good. I also, like, I'm not a photographer. I don't really know what I'm doing when I'm taking pictures, and I borrowed my mom's camera, so not experienced. But here's a picture of a vermilion flycatcher, which is, you know, it's absolutely stunning bird, and we actually like got to see it foraging and actually eat. I'm not sure what it was eating, but really cool to see. So on our hike, it was probably, I think it was like 5 miles total, so not too bad. Like, yeah, like 2.5 miles up and 2.5 down. I was in the back. I was always the last one whenever we went anywhere, because I was looking at every single little thing. So I ended up in the back with Christian, because he was also really, you know, enthusiastic about all the natural history. So we found this millipede and we were like, oh my God, this is so cool. And like, we can't even see the people that are hiking in front of us. So this is what it looked like when we got to the very top. So this is the caldera of Sierra Negra. I guess it's not the best picture, but it does show the scale of what the top of a volcano looks like. Here's, I don't know, I guess I didn't really consider how large the entrance of a volcano would be. It's kind of hard to see what's happening here, but basically like you get up and then it's a sudden drop off down, and then it's all open, and all that dark is just, it's hardened cooled lava, and then the horizon on the other end is the other side of the caldera. So when we got back from our hike, we went back to the beach that I saw those shorebirds at, and I got better photos of the Sally Lightfoot crabs, which I was pretty proud of. And we got to watch the sunset too, which is absolutely gorgeous. I really love this photo because it looks like these two iguanas are watching the sunset together, and I think that's really cute. And then yeah, there's a brown pelican over here that I was trying to get in the photo, but you can't really tell. Yeah, I'm definitely planning on going back to the islands. Like there's no way that I can just go once, you know, but seeing the sunset again is definitely something that I want to do. It was really strange. Everyone was like, okay, we saw the sunset, we took the photos, we're gonna go back to the hotel. And I was like, what? It's still happening. Like there's still like 15 minutes left. So I stayed. I stayed and watched the whole sunset because I was like, there's no way that I'm just gonna go back to the hotel and sit around and not watch the sunset. Like, what the heck? The other really cool thing about the sky is the stars are insane, and like I don't have any photos, so I'll have to deal with me telling you about it. So because we're on the equator, we can see different constellations than what we would see here back home. So there's more constellations because you can see the southern ones too. And on the islands, there's such little light pollution because they're so they're not densely populated at all, that you can see so many stars. Like it's probably like 3 times the number of stars that I've ever seen in my life. Like the entire sky was all starlight. And you could like, I don't know, I also don't know much about astronomy either, but like you could see like Milky Way kind of thing of like a really dense association of stars. All is so cool. I wish I had photos, but so our next day we had another little hike, and it was probably like the hottest day. The most exhausted I was. It was like in the upper 80s or so, I think. But besides that, the weather was perfect, and we didn't get any rain at all. So these guys are some sort of paper wasp. I'm not sure if they're native to the islands or not, but they are really, really pretty. And then here of course is another lichen. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of beard lichen, but I don't think I've gotten the identification any farther. But again, that like beautiful, beautiful orange color that we've seen on a bunch of different species. So the end of the hike is to get to what is called the Wall of Tears, which is a pretty interesting historical site. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the history, but it was so after World War II, the United States troops had a base on Isabella, and after that, in like 1945 to 59, I think it was, the president of Ecuador used Isabella as a penal colony, and that's when this wall was made by the prisoners, and it was like absolutely horrific. The number of people that died in the building of it. So it's all lava rock, and they had to chisel it and then make the wall. And it's, I don't know quite how long it is, but it's pretty big. and it was like over 20 feet tall, and I think it goes up to like 65 feet in some areas, but it's made without any sort of mortar in between the rocks, so it's just the rocks all stacked up on each other, and it's absolutely useless. It does nothing and it goes nowhere, and that was what the punishment was. So like it's I don't know, it was an odd thing to see, I guess, in the middle of like, you know, natural beauty, and then here's a, you know, a human historical monument of some of our atrocities that we've committed. So on the way back though, we saw a black-necked stilt, which I was very excited about because I had wanted to see one since I was little, like flipping through bird guides. I was like, whoa, this bird is so beautiful, and it definitely didn't disappoint. It's really stunning. And then this is the only marine iguana that we saw that we saw in the water, and he's just kind of in the really shallow water and just splishing his tail around a little bit. It's cute. And then I actually got to like sit down and look and appreciate the marine iguanas for kind of the first time, because the pace of the trip, it was pretty good considering that it was technically a school trip, and they kind of have a tendency to like one thing after another. So like it was better in that sense, but of course no amount of time is going to be enough for me to look at things. So I was really happy that I got a chance to like literally sit down and observe these animals. I think this picture is so cute because it looks like they're posing for like a family portrait. And then the next day we had another snorkeling. So we went off the coast of Isabella Island, and this was not the only look, but probably the best look at a Galapagos penguin. So this is an immature, and he's in the process of molting, so he looks a little raggedy, but he's really cute, and he's, you know, just kind of standing there. And we got to see even closer looks at the blue-footed boobies. And then here's the lava lizard that is occurring on Isabela Island. And if you have that picture of the ones on San Cristobal, you can see that this is totally different. There's like this red coloration on its throat, and it even has like its scales on the back of its neck are like really thorny, and it's, you know, morphologically totally different from the species or subspecies that's found on San Cristobal Island. So there's where we snorkeled off of, it was pretty shallow water, and then there's some sort of volcanic landscape here. It was totally covered in in really cool lichens. I'm sorry if I'm talking about lichens too much, but they're really interesting. And again, like these are shapes and colors I've never seen lichens be like, and I don't know, they're just really wonderful. So we had a young sea lion come and join us while we were exploring this little patch of land. Gave us a wink and yawned, and we could actually see the teeth. Or little marine iguanas. They're so sweet. Well, okay, so I'll talk about the snorkeling a little bit before I talk about those fishes. So again, I couldn't see a whole lot of stuff because my eyesight is terrible. But I know that we did swim with sharks. We swam over top them. They were white-tipped sharks, so they're not massive, but they're not like little ones. I think they were, I don't know, like 6 feet long, maybe more than that. But they were resting on the very bottom of the ocean, and we were like literally swimming over top of them. And there's, you know, a lot of crazy colorful fish that I missed. But the thing that I did get really good looks at were some sort of krill, which was, I don't know, really probably like I don't know, maybe one of the coolest things that I got to see, because I could see it so very closely. There were like hundreds of them, and they were like, you know, like right up close to our goggles. And they were like, the biggest ones were probably about like an inch, and then the other ones were like, I don't know, smaller than that, like down to like 1/8 of an inch long, and they were completely translucent, and then they had like metallic gold accents on their bodies, and then like neon orange and neon blue, like they were just like really, really interestingly colored, and you could see, you know, all 10 legs going, their little antenna and their eyes, and they were so cool. Again, I wish I had an underwater camera so that I had that, but I only have the picture in my mind, which I guess is good enough for now. Here's the only picture that I have of me in the islands. So this was at a little restaurant called Iguana Point on Isabella. And this is Seraphine, the restaurant cat. He was really, really sweet. He just wanted to sit in our laps. And I was, of course, the one who encouraged it. But like, he wasn't interested in like stealing the food or anything. He just wanted to be held. And I thought it was really sweet, but I got yelled at by Christian and Beto, because you're not supposed to have pets at the table, and they're dirty, and you shouldn't pet the cat while you're eating, you know, a very, again, like a cultural difference. But the restaurant owner thought it was really funny and really sweet that I wanted to hold the cat while I was eating. But he was very, very sweet, very cute. So then we went back to Santa Cruz, and we were finally there for like, I think we stayed there for a night, but we, you know, got to explore the town a little bit more, because I'm pretty sure that of the islands that are populated, Santa Cruz is the most densely populated. And there's a lot of like tourist shops and, you know, boring things, but we got to go to the Darwin Research Center, like the largest or most significant one, I think, that's within the islands. So they also have a breeding program for the Galapagos tortoises, and you can see some more young ones that I think were around the same age as the ones that we saw on San Cristobal, and some more kindergartners. And then this picture I really like, because you can see the difference in the shape of their shells. So like that's one of the main ways that you can tell the different species or subspecies, which I didn't really learn how to do, but I can tell you that this one here in the foreground is a saddle-backed shaped shell. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the adults that they had within that sanctuary were hybrids of different subspecies, I guess, of the Galapagos tortoise, which, as far as individuals go, they obviously want to, you know, like help and protect and save them. But as far as a species or a subspecies go, they'd rather keep those distinct for genetic and biodiversity. So there's a lot of, you know, interesting work going on there. So some appreciation of little things after watching the massive turtles. So this is I'm pretty sure it's a Galapagos blue, which is just a tiny, tiny little butterfly who's, I think, only like a centimeter long, really. And she's actually laying eggs. That's why her body is curved like that. Yeah. Still learning my butterflies, but very, very cool. And then we had some free time, so we decided to, you know, find our way to a beach. And this is a white-cheeked pintail, who is a really small waterfowl. And even though you're not supposed to approach the wildlife and you're not supposed to feed them, you could tell that these guys were definitely being fed by some people, whether actual inhabitants of the island or not, probably by tourists, more likely. But to get better pictures of them, I was picking up like pieces of shells and throwing them, and they'd, you know, like run over and like bite on the shells and be like, oh, this isn't food. But I got some pretty cool pictures that way. And then we also went swimming there, and I was able to get really, really good looks at a lava heron, but because I was swimming in the water, I don't have any pictures, but it was sitting in the mangroves, and I like swam all the way out to the, so that I could look at it much closer. Really, really, really beautiful bird, which I wish I had photos of, but I don't. Oh, so I keep saying that everything is my favorite, or this was my favorite thing I saw, but maybe this is my favorite. So these I found on that beach, and I was very confused. I was like, I have no idea what these are, because I've not had the opportunity to go to the ocean very much. So I'm really not familiar with marine organisms at all. So I was like, maybe they're decapods, maybe they're like a shrimpy kind of thing. And I was wrong. So when I posted them on iNaturalist, again, that citizen science platform, the identification that someone offered was barnacles. And I was like, whoa, what? That's crazy. So these are actually like the exoskeleton of the internal body of the barnacle, which I don't think I ever like that wasn't even like an option that I considered for what these would be. But I found quite a few of them, and I thought they were so cool. But again, didn't take them because it's illegal. But if it wasn't, I would have them. And then off the boat launch again, we saw, I think there were 3 green sea turtles all swimming. These were like the only good pictures that I got of them was when they surfaced, because anything else, they're just kind of like a light colored blob under the water moving around. Yeah, so after the islands, we took our plane from Santa Cruz back to Quito, and our last day in Quito, it was supposed to be to go to the cloud forest, which is it's a transitional forest between, like, before the actual rainforest in Ecuador happens. And I was very excited. I was like so ready to go and see all of the different biodiversity, and Christian was very excited for me to go because he was like, oh, you're gonna see this bird, and oh, I found this insect there, and they're so cool. And like everyone was really excited, and we were halfway into our, like 2-hour drive, and we get a phone call that 3 of us tested positive for COVID. So we had to pull over and stop and figure out what on earth we were going to do. So I had tested negative, but 2 students and a chaperone had tested positive, which is really too bad. Everyone was asymptomatic, and we had no clue, but it meant that we never got it. We never got to the cloud forest. But on that time that we had to pull over and like get out of the van and be like, what's the plan now? We were waiting around for a while, maybe like an hour, for people to like figure out like, what are we doing? Because the rest of us were like, we're leaving this night. So while the adults figured that out, I was just kind of wandering around. So we had pulled off on a shoulder of whatever road we were on, and it was absolutely disgusting. Like the pollution was insane. It was gross. And it was interesting because it wasn't like what you see around here of like beer cans or soda bottles or whatever. It was just like actual trash. And I was like, ugh, like I wish I could pick it up. Like I pick up enough trash as it is, but it was sad to see. But even in a really polluted shoulder of some highway, the arthropod diversity was like truly remarkable. And like everywhere you look, there was something new and something different. And then there was so many, so many things to look at. So this is one of those, I'm pretty sure it's some sort of Orthoptera. I'm not sure if it's actually a grasshopper or if it's, you know, some other thing. We'll call it a grasshopper. But she was massive. She was like at least 4 feet long, or 4 feet, 4 inches, geez, 4 inches long, which was, you know, the biggest grasshopper I've ever seen. And it was like a little bit scary to look at, but she's really pretty. And then these guys, I've learned the name as Calligrapher Flies, but I'm not sure if that's like an actual taxonomic grouping, but I know that they're a genus of Diptera, of flies. And I've seen Calligrapher Flies at home, but I've never seen anything with that kind of pattern on it. Another little Orthoptera of some sort. And then the spiders were really, really remarkable. This one here on the left is a type of orchard spider. And this one is an orb weaver. I think it's the silver garden orb weaver. So similar to the garden orb weaver that we have at home, but a little bit more heavily patterned. So this spider here on the left, probably the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm really kind of upset with myself because, again, I only had that little lens on the camera and I didn't want to step into the grass where I was looking at everything because, one, there's a lot of trash and I don't really feel like stepping in it. And two, I didn't want to disturb anything. I didn't want to, you know, break the spider webs or, you know, step on anyone. But three people just got positive COVID tests and we really don't need me to like get bit by some venomous spider or something. So this, the web of this one was like kind of far back. So I was like reaching over with the camera trying to get a picture of it. Because it was so far away, I just saw a spider in a web and I thought that there was like something else in the web with it, like some food item or something. And it wasn't until I got back in the bus and I looked through my photos that I realized that it actually had these incredible like spikes, thorns on his abdomen. And I was like, holy cow, like that's a kind of spider that like I've only ever seen in books, right? Like you look at like, oh, here's cool spiders of the world, and there's always a few pictures of them with the massive spikes, and I got to see one and I only took one picture of it. It's kind of disappointing, but oh well. And then this is another orb weaver. I believe that this is also in the orb weaver family, but I'm not sure what the genus or species is, or off the top of my head anyways. And then another really fantastic little spider. Again, totally different than anything anything I've seen. Like the body shape is really, really interesting. And that one was really small. It was probably like only like ½ an inch long, really. Some really, really beautiful beetles. And then a couple butterflies. This is a type of lampwing. And then I don't remember the name of this other one, but when its wings were open, it was totally black and it had the pattern was like this brilliant like neon turquoise color. I didn't get pictures of it with its wings open, but still very beautiful with its wings closed like that. Yeah, so after I was, you know, had to get back into the van, we went back to the hotel and like figured out what was going on with, or what was going to happen with the people that had tested positive. And it was kind of like, okay, well, what do we do now? Because that kind of messed up all of our plans. So we went to a little, like a little market kind of thing, tourist things, whatever. But afterwards, we went for a drive, and we just kind of kept going up the mountain. And we're going up and up and up, and we're like, geez, like where are we going? What is going on? And we got all the way up to the very top, and there was this really cute little restaurant all the way up at the top of the mountain, however many, you know, like 10,000 feet or more than that probably. It was really, really neat. And the owners had a lot of hummingbird feeders out, and you could see quite a few different hummingbirds, which I was really, really excited about, because of course we only have the ruby-throated here in the Northeast. So to all of a sudden see, like, you know, such like huge and then like totally differently colored hummingbirds was really exciting. So this one over here on the left is, if I'm remembering the name, is a black-tailed train bearer, I believe. But like that tail is, I don't know, like over half a foot long. That belongs to this tiny little hummingbird. And then this bird is the sparkling violet-eared. And this is a massive hummingbird. Like compared to the one that we're used to, this is like twice the size of it. And I was like, holy cow. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so those are some of my pictures from the trip. So I'd be happy to take any questions or go over anything, or if anyone wants me to like go back to a slide so you can look at a picture closer, I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Alex, that was wonderful. Thank you. One of the first questions was, what kind of camera were you using? And you said you borrowed your mom's, but could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I can tell you that it's a Canon Rebel, maybe. I genuinely do not know anything about photography, just well enough to take pictures.
Was it
I'm
a
not sure if
digital?
my mom knows any. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one of the first spider that you showed, was that poisonous?
Well, not to be like, actually, poisonous means that if you eat it, you'll get sick. So the better word to use would be venomous, of if it bites you, you'll get sick. I got no clue. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if any of the spiders I saw were venomous or not. I didn't get bit.
Which is a great thing. So there was a salamander that you showed in the beginning of the presentation, and somebody wanted to know the name of that salamander. You had said it, and she said, please repeat the name of it.
A salamander? Was it the lava lizard? These guys?
Well, let's see if we get some confirmation from that. So if the person who asked the question, if you want to either unmute and chime in, or just post in the chat. Let's see. Let me see here.
So yeah, we didn't see any amphibians on the trip at all. So these are a reptile. They're called lava lizards. But I'm not sure the exact species name, and it'd be in Latin anyways, which I'm not very good at pronouncing.
Okay, and then another question, are the marine iguanas herbivores or omnivores?
I believe that they're herbivores. I don't think that they eat other things. Again, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that they eat primarily algae. But I guess they would be considered omnivores if they do eat corals, because corals are animals. But primarily algae.
Okay. And then do you know the name of that spiky spider with all the spikes on the abdomen?
I don't know the name, and I certainly don't know the common name. But it is on iNaturalist. So I could find the Latin name for it, but not off the top of my head. I don't have it. But it is in the family of orb weavers.
Okay, and you're getting a lot of love in the chat. People are just saying it was so much fun. Your pictures are wonderful. I do have a question though, because you talked about Quito having just like really gross pollution. Did you see any signs of pollution in the Galapagos?
Yeah.
Can you just say a little bit more about what's going on there in terms of like conservation and what's being polluted?
I mean, I think that, I mean, I don't have very high opinions of our species, but in the populated areas, there's definitely quite a bit of pollution, but I wouldn't say any more significant than what I see in Berkshire County or what I see here in Norfolk, really. It's just humans are here and we're not very good about a whole lot of things. But within the like park itself, or within like the specifically like conservation or like research center, there wasn't a whole lot of pollution at all. I mean, there was obviously stuff on some of the beaches just from how ocean currents work. So primarily more in the populated areas, which I guess is expected, but unfortunate.
Yeah, so somebody I think wants me to clarify what I meant by really gross pollution, and that's the kind of pollution that you can see, the kind that you're taught. Like I was like, because you had described like you could step in it and it was like bags of trash everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like the visceral kind. To be clear, like all pollution is pretty gross, but some of it is more like viscerally, like it just gets you that because you can't really see a lot of other pollution.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for Alex?
So many wonderful, excuse me, comments, Alex. Beautiful job. I think you are a great photographer. Thank you for a wonderful armchair trip. Great photos. You have a great eye. I totally agree with that. I thought the images were really remarkable and I loved your presentation. They were beautifully mounted on the screen as well. So thank you for that.
PowerPoint helps with that.
Yeah, it's just great though.
Thank you.